gonna try filming this again. This is the third time because my SD card doesn't want to recognize itself in the camera. Okay. We are monsters. We give and we take. Hey Bookish Babes, welcome to my book nook. If you're new around here, the name's Rainy. I read all different types of books, primarily fantasy romance. If you like that, like and subscribe to my channel down below and stay tuned for the rest of this video. Now today's video is actually very exciting as we are going to be participating in the Seasonal Spooky Challenge that is hosted by Cassidy over by Covers with Cassidy. I am currently participating in her Every Romantasy one and I'm halfway done through that. I plan on finishing that by December, hopefully, and I'm having a wonderful time over there. She has also created a seasonal challenge for spooky time, and I am not currently in my spooky era. I have been reading primarily fantasy romance, but I do really miss spookiness sometimes and I want to get spooky in the fall season, so I'm excited for this, so I'm going to be doing it. So basically what happens is there's going to be 8 books that you have to read and they pertain to settings, but then you also have to match them with an unlocking trope, things like different tropes that you have to match them with. And then there's like additional stuff like if you can make it read for cover prompts and if you can do it for like different animals or monster creatures, then you can have more books. And so I'm going to talk about all the things that I plan on. However, I will be most proud of myself if I read the 8 books and have the matching unlock prompt to them. If I don't meet all the cover prompts and like the creature monster part, I don't care because I'll have vlogs hopefully for the ones that I'm doing for the 8 major prompts. But I'm going to show you everything that I've got. So let's get started. So the first book is for an urban setting, and there are 2 that I really wanted to read, but I'm gonna put the second one on here because that is like one of my most anticipated books of the year because I love Rachel Harrison and I love everything that she writes. And so that is So Thirsty, which I just got off of Aardvark. I just switched over to Aardvark from Book of the Month because Book of the Month has been having terrible selections. I am sad though because if I had ordered it on the first day of September, I would have gotten a signed copy, but we're gonna pretend that I didn't know that was a thing. Anyway, So Thirsty, I don't know a lot about it. I just know that it's a vampire novel and it's a female friendship novel, which doesn't surprise me because Rachel Harrison loves to write books about female friendships. Cackle is one of my favorites. It's near and dear to my heart, so I am so excited to get to this. I can't wait for it to be in my hands. This is probably the one I'm most excited for. And the unlocking trope that I'm going to be putting it with is new release because it just came out, or if it hasn't come out, it's coming out this month. The next one is Summer Camp, and I didn't have a lot of books. Now the thing is, I'm trying to primarily pick books that are on like my physical TBR because I don't want to have to go buy books or borrow books in the library. So I'm trying to do that at all costs. So there were a couple of books that came through that I saw other people using that I didn't physically own. But I do own this one, and it is The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. Now, with this one, I have not had great success with Mr. Sager. The only book that I have loved of his is The Only One Left. I loved that book. I hated The House Across the Lake. I hated Survive the Night, and I DNF'd Middle of the Night because that one was just pure garbage. So I'm a little hesitant on putting another one, you know, on the TBR for him, but I do kind of want to read his entire backlist. He's like Grady Hendrix to me, like, which you'll get to Grady in a minute. I can't stop reading them even though I'm not enjoying them, but I can't stop. I feel like everybody has that type of person that they do. And so all I know about this one is a young woman returns to her childhood summer camp to uncover the truth about a tragedy that happened 15 years ago. Basically, I think somebody ended up missing. So I'm a little hesitant. I don't know if this is going to be fabulous, but we're going to give it a go. And the one that I'm using this for is on somebody else's TBR because Cassidy is using this for their summer camp one, so there you go. The next one that I'm doing is for an isolated setting, and there were a couple that I wanted to do for this, but I did this one because there's an unlocking trope that was really hard for me to figure out. And so that is Horror Store by Grady Hendrix, because this one I'm pretty sure is isolated because they spend the whole night, the whole story takes place in like an IKEA store, if I'm right. Yeah. It says, something strange is happening at the Orsk Furniture Superstore in Cleveland, Ohio. Every morning, employees arrive to find broken bookshelves, shattered water goblets, and smashed wardrobes. And then to unravel the mystery, 3 employees volunteer to work at a 9-hour dusk till dawn shift. So, it's isolated setting in like an IKEA store, and it looks like an IKEA book manual, which is cool. So I haven't necessarily heard the best things about it, but it's only 230 pages. I figure I could whiz through it really quick. And the unlocking trope that I decided to do for this one is a book that you didn't buy because my brother actually gifted me this because he didn't really like this book. And once again, it's Grady Hendrix, which means I'm probably not going to like it because the only book I've liked by him is Final Girl Support Group. But if I was to read that now, I probably wouldn't have liked it. And it's not like I absolutely loved it. Like, it was just all right. Also, this was a very hard unlocking trope for me because I buy a lot of books. for myself. Next one is for a small town setting, and I'm very excited that I'm getting to this, and that is The Butcher by Jennifer Hillier. I have read all of Jennifer Hillier's books except for 2, this one and Creep, which is the sequel, or no, Freak, which is the sequel to Creep. I love her. I'm really, she's overdue for having a new book. Like, she hasn't gifted me one in 2 years. I need that to happen. But this one is about 30 years ago, police chief Edward Shank hunted down and killed the most notorious serial killer in Seattle's history, the Beacon Hill Butcher. 80 years old and retired, he's giving up his Victorian home to his grandson, Matt. While Matt's renovating it, he stumbles upon a gruesome cachet. He must decide whether he should ignore the secret, go to the police, or take matters into his own hands. And then his girlfriend believes that her mother may have been killed by the Beacon Hill Butcher, even though the murder took place 2 years after the killer was gunned down. So there's a lot going on in this book. I love a good serial killer moment. I don't love a good mass market paperback moment, but we're going to make do for Miss Hillier. But I'm very excited because I've heard fabulous things about this book. And for unlocking, I'm going to be listening to the audiobook for this one. Then we have the book for Southern Setting, and I'm going with House of Hunger by Alexis Henderson. I have always been interested in reading an Alexis Henderson book. I haven't gotten to any yet. I know she's written Year of the Witching, and she's coming out with Academy for Liars, but I wanted to start with this one because it's vampire-esque, and I am very much a vampire girly. I don't know a lot about this book, even though it's been out. I feel like I've kind of left it vague for a reason because I just want to be surprised by it. So I'm not really going to say what it's about, but I am very excited to get to it because I have heard great things about it. And for the unlocking trope, I'm going to be using it for diverse representation because of Alexis Henderson. So sounds like a good time. The next one was for Haunted House. And I'm not going to lie, I don't enjoy haunted house books. I haven't really found a haunted house book that I particularly love yet. And so I was hesitant on this one, but I did find a book that I was interested in reading, and that's Coraline. I've always wanted to read that, and I've always wanted to watch the movie, and I just haven't done it. And I feel like it's a classic, and I should know, what it's about. And so I figured I will give Coraline the chance that it needs. It looks super oopy, creepy, that weird, claymation-y type horror like Wallace and Gromit, which honestly I'm very much here for. So I'm excited to get to it. And the prompt that it's unlocking is young adult, which that was also hard for me to do because I don't read a lot of young adult. The next one is Coastal Setting, and I didn't pick the one that I wanted because I was like, oh, well, it'll match one of the cover prompts, but I'm not worried about the cover prompts. So I'm going to put a book on here that I know I'm going to read. And that is The Midnight Feast by Lucy Foley. I'm reading this for the B&K Book Club this month for my friends Brittany and Kelsey. And she always does isolated settings, so I could have used it for that, but this takes place at a coastal resort. So, it's one of those isolated thrillers where there's a murder happens in an isolated spot and there's all the different characters. So this one's welcome to the opening weekend of the Manor, a luxury resort built on top of old secrets in an ancient forest. The founder, the husband, the mystery guest, the kitchen help. Everyone has an agenda, everyone has a past, but not everyone will survive. Very excited. I've really loved The House Guest by her, so I'm hoping this is another slam dunk. And the last one for the settings is In the Woods, and I thought of the perfect book for this, and I think it is In the Woods, but I couldn't get a definitive answer on it, but I'm going to go with it, and it's called Below by Laurel Hightower. This one is about a girl. I'm pretty sure she gets stuck on the side of the road or something like that, and this guy goes to help her, and then all of a sudden, he runs into the woods or something happens. I can't remember exactly what happens, but basically she has to make a decision. Does she go and help save the person that was trying to help her, or does she take care of herself? And then there's a Mothman involved. I don't really know. Am I selling this story to you? I don't know, but it's a short novella, which that is the unlocking trope that I needed to hit. So it hits 2 birds with 1 stone. So I'm about it. Okay, and then really quickly, we're just going to whiz through the cover prompts. If I hit them, great. Some of them do work. So for example, there was one that if it had hands on the cover and if it had tech on the cover, and I used Horror Store for both of those because there are hands right there in the little frames. And then I considered tech to be, what did I consider it to be? Oh yeah, this camera that's right here because that is technology. So, because you're taking photos. So I used that for that. For So Thirsty, I used it for blood on the cover because there's blood dripping out of the cup. For Animal on the cover, I used Below because the Mothman is literally on the cover. And for Weapon, I ended up using the Butcher because the giant, what is it called? Butcher knife. Butcher knife was on there. Okay. Oh my gosh. What am I doing? So there were 3 more that I didn't have yet. So I'm going to pick books for those. And for example, for Window, book with a window on the cover, I picked the Last House on Needle Street by Catriona Ward because I feel like I'm one of the only people that hasn't read that book yet. And I want to have read it. I'm very intrigued by it. I know there is a perspective from a cat. So I just have to know what the big twist is and why people either absolutely love it or absolutely hate it. I've got to know. And I feel like it's finally time to get to that. And then for book with water on the cover, which is the one that I was gonna use for Coastal, but I didn't, is Jaws by whatever his name, Peter Benchley, I think. I've never read Jaws. I'm obsessed with Jaws. I actually love sharks. I don't love sharks. Let's rephrase that. I love Shark Week. I'm obsessed with sharks. I watch shark movies all the time. My favorite movie is Deep Blue Sea, which if you have not seen that movie, it is a banger, okay? LL Cool J. It's a banger. So I actively seek out watching shark movies in Shark Week. Terrified of sharks, will not go in the water. It's actually a personal problem for me, but you know what? It's fine. Everything's fine. I've not read the book though. Now, to be fair, I haven't heard the book is like fabulous, but I feel like I should read it. Just like I'm finally reading Jurassic Park, and like Jurassic Park, like we're obsessed. I feel like I owe it to my shark love and appreciation that I read the book that started it all. And then the last one is for book with eyeball on the cover, and I'm actually going to put a book that I have just been so intrigued by that everyone and their mother is talking about. Not Mayfly, because I've already read that, but The Eyes Are the Best Part. I have heard fabulous things about that book, and I just want to know what it's about. I think it's about a girl that her mom makes her like eat this fish, and it's like the eyes are the best part, make sure to eat the eyes, and then after that she becomes obsessed with eyeballs, and it just becomes a whole thing. And so like, I really need to know what that's all about. And the last thing is there's bonus challenges if you find these things in your books. And I didn't have a prompt for all of them, but for example, vampires, So Thirsty already has that. And for serial killer, The Butcher already has that. So then there were 4 more that I needed, like Cults, which I ended up going with The Project by Courtney Summers. I've just heard it's a cult book. I own it. I own a couple Courtney Summers books. I figured it was time to get to that. So I'm excited to read that. For Cannibals, I picked Brother by Anya Alborn. I've been wanting to read that for such a long minute. My friend Haley always recommends it. It's basically like I have a bunch of family members. We're all cannibals and kill people, and one of them decides that they don't want that lifestyle anymore, but their family's like, well, we can't have that. Very excited for that. For mixed media, I went with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder because I want to be able to watch the show, even though I haven't heard fabulous things about the show, but I still want to be able to watch the show. And so I figure I should finally get to that so I can read book 1. And then for Ghosts, I've been told that there are ghosts in this, so I'm going to go with it. And that is Mary by Nat Cassidy, which Nestlings is the book that I wanted to use for urban setting because I really want to read a Nat Cassidy book. But Mary is basically what happened if what happened if Carrie, like Stephen King's Carrie, had never had powers, but still had all that stuff go on to her, and she was a grown woman. Like, what would happen then? What would her story be like? And I've heard that there's ghosts in it. If there's not, then I'm going to be sad, but that's what I put for that. However, I'm really only trying to make myself do the setting ones. So for sure, I will hopefully do vlogs that have the 8 books that I talked about in the very beginning. But if you're interested in this challenge at all, I will link an announcement video underneath and like all the stuff that you need in order to participate so that you can join us. I'm excited to read some of these spooky books. If you got to the end of this, then let's do a ghost emoji because I was talking about ghosts at the end of this. Let me know if any of these books are on your seasonal spooky TBR or which books you want me to get to first for a vlog. I was thinking of doing 2 to 3 of these books in each of the vlogs, so that could be a little bit fun. But with that, friends, that's all I have for you today, and I will see you guys in a video very soon. Bye!